Okay, so we should be live, fingers crossed. I'm going to check in just a moment. My name is Pamela Lewerenz, and I am here with the Brick Wall Coach series, and it's just behind the scenes in the life of an entrepreneur. And I'm going to speak today with Lisa, and I am so excited to have her here with me. So let me unmute her so she can come on live with us. All right.
Hi,
And we
Pamela.
are good to go. Hello.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for inviting me to join you.
Oh, I am super, super glad that you are here. This is such an important subject for everybody. So why don't we just begin with exactly what your business is?
Absolutely. So I call myself a legal coach and attorney for entrepreneurs because I help entrepreneurs take easy legal steps to protect your practice and your income and your brand. Basically just one step at a time. Because a lot of entrepreneurs are terrified of the law. They don't want anything to do with the law. It's the last thing that they want to put in place. And yet at the same time, you're working so hard to get rid of the brick walls with Pamela's help and actually build a practice and a business to support you. And there are some legal protections you can take to hold and support and protect your business.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So if you were someone who did not take any legal action before this, what do you think is the first step? Where would you lead someone?
Yeah. So I know that those of you listening are probably in different phases of your business development, right? You might be brand new to business, or you might be a couple of years in, or you might be farther along in your business. But usually what I tell people, Pamela, is that the first step is to protect your income. Because really without the income that you're starting to make, it's hard to invest in all the other things that you're doing for your business, like building your website or hiring coaches or creating graphics or creating programs. So the income, I think, is the biggest piece. So for people who are working one-on-one with clients, the first step is to use what I call a client agreement so that you and your client have something in writing that you both sign and agree to that sets forth all of the terms around payment and what's included in your program and communication and of course limitation of liability so that you're on the same page and you both have clarity as to your working relationship just when you're starting your work together.
I love that. I love that. That's perfect. Now, how about if someone has a website? Do you suggest anything on that?
Yes, absolutely. So if you have a website, there are usually 3 legal documents that you want to have in place. And I'm going to tell you what each one is and why you need each one. Like why 3? Why are there 3? So here's why. First, the first document is what I call a website disclaimer. And this is a document that actually tells people that sort of what you are and what you do, right? So if you're a coach, for example, let's say you're a business coach, you want to tell people that you're not giving accounting advice or legal advice or that you're giving business advice beyond the scope of your knowledge. So you want to make sure your website disclaimer is very clear in outlining who you are and what you do so people don't get confused and think that you're doing something that you're not. So you're disclaiming your liability and getting really clear about the role that you play. That's the website disclaimer. This is usually 4 or 5 pages long, but you have it in the footer of your website, access through the footer of your website. That's really about your identity and who you are. The next document is what I call the website terms and conditions. Sometimes this is called terms of service, or there are lots of names for legal documents, but I just call it the website terms and conditions. And this is the document that actually helps to protect the content on your website, right? So this is to protect things like your images and your language on your sales page or your home page or your about page, so that if someone comes along and swipes it and copies your work off of your website, which happens sometimes, unfortunately, you have language to fall back on, protecting your intellectual property, protecting your content, but you have the obligation as the business owner to tell people what your policies are and boundaries are around how they can use your website. So that's a document that protects your content, and it's called the website terms and conditions. And then the last document is called the privacy policy. Well, probably as you can figure out from the name, it's telling people that when they give you information about them, like their name and email address, maybe they subscribe to your opt-in or they join your community or get your newsletter, you're telling them that even when they give you something as simple as their name and email address, you're going to keep that information safe and private. And it's actually a document that's required if you do social media ads. And also it's legally required if you have clients who are outside the United States, like in Canada or Europe, basically. So those are the three documents: the website disclaimer, the website terms and conditions, and the privacy policy.
Perfect. Perfect. That is wonderful, because I can tell you check on 2 of those, but I don't have the third. So I have to look into that. Perfect.
Well,
all right. So
that, because everyone can look at their own website and see if they have those documents in place as a little quick check for their own business.
Yeah. Perfect. Perfect. So here I am jumping into, okay, this is everything Lisa has to offer, but why don't you give us a little bit of background on why did you decide to do this type of business? What led you to where you are today?
Thank you for asking that, Pamela. It is always interesting to hear people's journeys as to how we all built these successful businesses, or wherever we are in our background, and how we brought these parts of us together. And basically, I started off working in a large corporate law firm as a healthcare attorney. And I just learned prior to this conversation that Pamela actually worked in healthcare administration. So we didn't even know we had that same language in common, which is fabulous. But I worked as a healthcare attorney in a large corporate law firm. And as you can imagine, I lived on caffeine and sugar and worked gazillions of hours. And it ended up really taking a toll on me. And while I got great training, and it was a prestigious firm and exactly what you should do when you get out of law school, it was really hard on myself and my body. So I actually left. And I worked with a life coach because I didn't know what I wanted to do next. And then I became a life coach. But I still knew there was something up with these crazy sugar cravings, and just my health and my mental health needed to be more aligned. So I went to health coaching school, to the Institute for Integrative Nutrition, and I became a health coach. And so what happened was I was holding out my shingle as a health and life coach, and all of my health coaching friends were like, but wait a minute, Lisa, you used to be a healthcare attorney. Like, help us. You understand online business. You understand what it means to be a coach. And most people don't have any idea what we're talking about when we tell them we're a coach. So can you help us? So I decided to bring together my background as a healthcare attorney and my knowledge and expertise in love and care of a coach, hence the ampersand. And I brought both sides together to then call myself a legal coach and attorney. And now I've helped thousands of entrepreneurs learn how to take these simple, easy, basic legal steps to protect yourself and your income and your brand, just like we were talking about in your website. So I've been doing it for years.
I like how you blended the 2 of those together. So just a little side note, that's what I feel that I've done with my own business. And basically because, number one, I love to help people. I was the biggest volunteer guru out there, and it started years ago, but you also have to make money. So I had to work. So combining that work and that volunteering, I mean, you put in so many hours. And when I decided I was going to open my own business, I didn't really know what I wanted to do either, but I knew that if I could combine them, blend them somehow. So I'm still helping people and getting that need met that I had, and doing what I knew how to do. And it's funny how it all comes together.
Well, and I think one of the things I love about online entrepreneurship is that when we give ourselves permission to bring all of these parts of ourselves together, I think sometimes we think we have to leave like parts of us behind. Like, oh, I don't work in corporate America anymore. Oh, I'm not this anymore. I'm not that anymore. I want to be this, not do it that way. And that was hard for me at first. Like, I thought that the way that I had to approach law had to be more the big corporate law firm way. And that's not as always warm and inviting as people would want it. So bringing more love and spirituality and alignment into the law has felt really good. But I love that you do that too, Paula, and Pamela, and you're also helping people to do it in their own business.
Yes, exactly. It's just, I always say at the end of the day, this was a good day. I feel good about myself. Hopefully I've made other people feel better. And that's kind of how I approach each day in front of me when I'm getting ready for my day, is kind of just I'm doing this, but I'm doing this for everybody. It's like a greater good. It's not just, hey, how much money can you go out and make today? That's not really the point. The point is to be able to help people spread your knowledge, so other people have it.
Well, and what I love about what you do is, and we even the name of your business and helping people break down their brick walls that are in the way of the life and the success and the business that they want to have. Because every time we all get in alignment with sort of who we are and what we're here on this planet to do, it does have that effect where it just branches out and touches people and inspires them to do things in their lives that they might not have seen possible. But until you break through the brick walls, you don't move forward. And same thing with law. Until you get legal protections in place, a lot of people hold themselves back and sort of stay small because they're afraid someone will come after them or sue them or they'll do something wrong. So I try to remove the legal brick walls in front of them, Pamela, while you help them move all the other brick walls in their business.
Well, and I think a large part of it is that they're scared because they don't know the law. I mean, the law is huge, just like, I mean, there's so many topics when that's not your specialty that if you look at that and somebody says, oh, you know, you need to cover yourself legally, you're kind of like, oh, first thing is, I don't know anything about it. Second thing is, that sounds expensive,
Exactly.
you know? And there are really reasonable ways to get this done.
Yeah, there are. I'm glad that you said that, because even though there's a couple of steps to take right away that we've already talked about, like the client agreement for one-on-one work or the website documents for your website, what's happened for me is I've been doing this work for several years is that so many entrepreneurs were like, but how can I do this less expensively? Like, how can I get documents that are actually designed for online entrepreneurs? Like, I know there's a lot of services out there, but people will say to me, but they don't speak my language. They don't really understand. They don't speak to the online entrepreneur. So I have created 35 or so do-it-yourself legal templates to help people with different parts of their business so that you can just download it, fill it out and save it and use it in your business. And it's already written in plain English and easy to understand, and just simple documents that you can use without having to feel scared or concerned about what they say or feel like it's a cold corporate document that you're giving your clients. So yeah, the do-it-yourself legal templates was one way to answer that call and that question about how can I do this less expensively. So
and you do have some amazing templates on there. I mean, they're amazing. I've gone through a few of them and looked at them, and I'm like, covering the things that you really need to be looking at when you're a business owner, and especially in that online space.
Exactly.
Working, a lot of times when people work online, it's not just, it's not like going to an office and being surrounded with other people. So you don't have that access to those things. You don't really know until you start uncovering them exactly what you do need.
Exactly. And the whole goal for the legal documents is really, I always say the law protects you in practical ways and sort of energetic or spiritual ways. Like practically, you get that legal language to cover your buns, right? To fall back on, to have in writing that's really clear, but also easy to understand and follow so that you feel really confident and safe and empowered as a business owner. And another reason I have the and is because I also believe that when you get clear about your own policies, you actually help to create energetic boundaries and containers to hold and support your clients too, which means that you can attract to you people who also are comfortable with clear boundaries because your lines are clearer as a business owner and you can stand a little taller in how you run and operate. It's not as murky. There's not as much energetic tendency to get into murky situations because you're clear. And that's what I call a spiritual side effect of the law that obviously most lawyers don't talk about that part.
No, definitely. They don't. They don't. Perfect. So now you are based virtually, but where is your home?
Well, my business is located in Ohio, where I was a healthcare attorney for several years. And I also have a home in Maine where you can see the snow outside right here where I am at the moment. So I am licensed in Ohio, and the templates are designed to be used by entrepreneurs everywhere, because all you do is download the template, fill it in with your information, and then you want to just have it reviewed by a local lawyer to make sure that there isn't anything super specific to your state that might need to be tweaked. But generally speaking, they apply to online entrepreneurs no matter where you are. I just always encourage you to have it reviewed by a local lawyer.
Okay. So even if you are not US based.
That's right.
Okay. Perfect.
Yeah, because the documents have the language for the entrepreneurial space, the online space. And what I found was that there are a lot of fantastic lawyers out there, obviously, but they didn't always understand the coaching world or the online world, or, downloadable information products and opt-ins and Entreport. Like they don't speak that language. So I created the legal templates to include that type of language, and then you take it to your lawyer to have them review it. It's a lot easier to do it that way than going the other way and bringing the traditional document to include the online. It's cheaper to do it this way. It's easier. You start off with the document that pretty much serves you. Just, of course, since I'm not licensed in every state and country, I can't legally say that you shouldn't see an attorney there. You definitely want to have an attorney just quickly review it and make sure there isn't anything else that might need to be tweaked or changed. But
great. Perfect. The templates, that answers that question. I know that came in from a viewer, so that's
absolutely good question. Glad they asked.
Good. So now, how long have you been actually doing this in the online space?
About 6.5 years. I have been a lawyer for about 25 years, but I've been in the online space for about 6.5 years. Again, because it resulted from me being a coach and working as a coach and having people say, wait a minute, can you help us? I never thought I would be a lawyer again. I mean, I always kept my credentials, but I just didn't think I would practice law again. And I help people with trademarks and LLCs and all kinds of things besides the legal templates. And it's really fulfilling. It's really helpful because I want people with entrepreneurial dreams to feel like you don't have to let this legal part scare you. You don't have to let it hold you back by not having it in place. I want you to be able to feel safe and go out and share your message and have a beautiful business and help other people in the world.
Wonderful. Oh, perfect.
Yeah, I do.
So now, looking back over your journey over the last 6.5 years, what would you say was one of the hardest things that you went through?
Oh my goodness, we could talk for hours about this.
I know. It's like my list is pretty long.
They always say like owning your own business, and especially online, is one of the hardest things you'll ever do and the most personal growth work you'll ever do. But part of the reason why I love that your business is called the Brick Wall Coach is because I find that every time I would do something new, right? Like I wrote a book last year, for example. It's called Easy Legal Steps That Are Also Good for Your Soul. And even though I knew exactly what I wanted to say in that book, I had been, talking to people about it for years, something about putting it in writing in a book that could be found on Amazon and out in the world, that was terrifying for me. And it seems like every time we do something new, right? Like the first time I sent an e-newsletter and the first time I launched my website to the world and when I wrote my book and then I started my podcast, it feels like such exposure. It feels so vulnerable that every time I feel like I have to flex the courage muscle and just trust and know that if I'm coming from a place of service and doing my best, it may not be perfect. It may need to be tweaked or changed, but that's okay to do it anyway and to just try our best to serve and help other people the best that we can. But it's always really scary. And so I just learned that I'm going to feel the fear and do it anyway.
Perfect.
Every time you think it would get easier, but somehow it still feels like it's a stretch. And so having the support of a coach like you and having the support of a community is so helpful.
It is. I think that is one of the biggest things is that no matter who you are or where you are in your business, you still need that support. You still need to surround yourself, with like-minded individuals, with people that are going to cheer you on, with people that are going to hold you accountable. I mean, that's like a big piece, especially again, with the online and being a solopreneur.
Yeah, because in our daily lives, we may have very loving and supportive friends and family, but there's not everyone that gets this space like we've been talking about. And there's something very communal about it, and there's something very solitary, right? When you're sitting in your home office or you're sitting at the coffee shop writing a blog post or whatever you're doing, and it's really important to feel like you are bolstered and supported by other people who speak your language and who understand what you're doing, especially if you've come from a traditional workplace. And when I first left my day job, my dad was like, who's going to pay for that? I mean, who's going to want me to help as a health coach? And I was like, well, Dad, I think there's a lot of people. And he was very supportive and loving. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
He just wanted me to make sure I could sustain myself and support myself financially.
Exactly.
Right?
No, I was up against the same thing. And, even one of my brothers, my parents were both entrepreneurs. I have a sister who's an entrepreneur and two brothers who are. So one of my brothers, it's crazy. It's crazy. I'm from a family of 7. So it's just, he said to me, you're going to just do it in the online space? And I said, well, yes, I can do that. Are you sure it's legal? I said, yes, it's legal. You can work in the online space. I think for people who haven't, they hear that and they're like, what exactly? How could you do that? Like they don't know what the framework even looks like for it. So yes, and it comes from a place of love. I know that it does, and they're super supportive, but even my husband, who understands what I do when I close my door and go into my office, I can only tell him so much and he can only listen so much. You really need someone who understands.
That's right.
The bigger picture.
That's right. Peers and coaches. You need people to help pull you up, to draw yourself up higher to each level of your business development. And then you need peers to kind of help support and bolster you as you go.
Yeah, exactly. That's why these masterminds and these private groups and these like group coaching and all those things are excellent to get into, because that's built-in support right there.
That's right. I totally agree. I could not agree.
I mean, never mind who's in charge of these groups. It's just the people that are in them become, your colleagues and your friends, as if you were working in that office and could walk across the hall and speak to Mary. She's doesn't exist there anymore. There is no hall to cross over when you're at home.
And what's so fun is this past weekend I was speaking at an event in San Diego, and the host of the event has been a dear online friend, literally like heartfelt dear friend online for 5 years. And we just met in person for the first time. And it's so funny to tell people that you have friends in the online space you've never met in person, but they're like your dear friends because you've shared so much going through this entrepreneurial journey that it's a really true friendship. And it was so fun and exciting to meet in real life. And yet, of course, we already knew each other, even though we'd never been in the same room. That's also hard for sometimes the family to totally understand. But
it is. You're traveling where to go see who? How do you know them?
Your dear friend. I'm like, exactly.
Exactly. Oh, good.
Do it without each other.
Good. Yeah. If you could give a piece of advice to someone who is just starting out, what would you say to them?
Yeah, I think for me, again, this has been part of my message and my journey, as I shared a moment ago, is this whole idea of just being really brave, like digging deep to recognize that when we, especially most people who are coaches come from a high achieving background. We're smart cookies who are interested in lots of different things. We've done a lot of exciting things in our lives and had some achievement. And it can feel really scary sometimes because you've done so many things so well in your life. And now you don't want to do this part not so well. And yet at the same time, every step that you take that's outside of your comfort zone is where your success lies. And all the things that got you to this point can help you, but you have to just keep, you don't have to do anything. I would invite you.
Exactly. Yep.
I am a coach. I would invite you to just keep reflecting and remembering that it doesn't have to be perfect. I'm sure you've heard this before. It doesn't have to, done is better than perfect. And that the more that you just keep doing things that are outside your comfort zone, it'll be okay. But that's how you grow, and that's how you grow your business. If we just stay safe and we just stay small,
that comfort zone.
Right. We have to stretch outside the comfort zone in order to have the success that we want. So being scared is okay. being nervous is okay. And feeling like it's not perfect or your best work in the world is totally fine, and do it anyway. And do it anyway. You can always tweak it tomorrow.
I was going to say, you can go back and change it. You can tweak it going forward, but it's fine. At least, you've done it.
That's how I feel. And it's like always better than you think it is anyway, which is hilarious. I mean, we all are enough as we are. And we just keep stretching and growing and learning, and doing the work on the personal side is just as important as learning how to remove the brick walls on the business side. Both are needed in order to go forward, I believe.
Yeah, absolutely. And I tell people that all the time. They're so intertwined. You can't make over your morning or set up a good routine for your day unless you start from the moment you get out of bed. So obviously you're not working yet, but it encompasses all of it. It's life. And then there's different parts underneath it. So yeah, that is super important.
But the commitment to courage and the commitment to not being perfect and just do it anyway, I think is the best advice.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, thanks for asking.
Well, I don't want to keep, I like to keep this to about 30 minutes, but I also wanted, before we just kind of end this, I wanted you to share with us, what does a typical day in your life look like?
Oh my goodness.
A typical day where you're not traveling or going off to speak, if you're just...
Okay, so my, I guess morning routine is different than a lot of people's is. I'm a gal who likes flexibility, so I can't be the gal that gets up at the same time every day and then journals for 10 minutes and then meditates for 15 minutes. That's just not how I operate. So I create windows. And I get up in the morning, and the first thing I do is go downstairs, actually, and I turn on the news. This is always what I've done since I was 20 years old. I don't know if people like that or not, but it works for me. And I make breakfast for my husband and myself. And that kind of is what wakes me up. It's that sort of a routine of making our smoothies and just kind of getting organized. And then I actually make time to exercise. That's next. And then I take a shower, and then I sit and journal or meditate. Sometimes my husband joins me in the meditation before I get my day going. And then when I start working, I usually look at my list of things I need to do that day. And I've already prioritized usually the day before the top 3 things or 4 things I need to get done. So I will look at that list and figure out which of those projects I need to tackle first. And then I will also check email. I'm a Gemini, so I kind of hop around. Like, I can't just do one thing like we talked about. So I'll kind of do a little bit of a project, finish that project, check email, go back, do a different project, but I do chunk my time. And then the afternoon is time blocked so that I work with clients on the hour, or I'll schedule a webinar or a podcast like this that we're doing right now, like with Pamela. And I end my workday anywhere between 5 to 7 in terms of client or podcast recordings. And then from 7 to 8, I also look at email and get organized for the next day. And then at 8 o'clock to 11 o'clock at night, I spend that entire time with my husband, and we have dinner and we go in the hot tub, and then we watch a show, and then we go to bed. We do it all the next day. So I am someone who's kind of hands-on. I do spend time communicating on email, working with my team, communicating with my team. On days I don't have client calls, I will have team meetings. But I have my hands in my business, and I do work a lot, but I love it. It makes me happy. It's not draining for me. It's invigorating for me. And as long as I make time for exercise and learning what's going on in the world and some time to myself, I'm a happy camper.
Good. No, that sounds like an excellent routine. A little bit similarities to what I do, and the same thing, but I use a lot of time blocking myself. Yeah. So, I've got in there, this is my meditation, my exercise, and reading time. And it doesn't necessarily have to be from 6 to 6:15 is this. It doesn't work because, as you know, unless you set an alarm, you're not going to get up at the same time every day. Right. And I think that's one of the things that I like the best working from home. I no longer have to set an alarm. Exactly. I don't have to be out of bed at 5 a.m. I know I'm going to be up way before I meet with my first client, so I'm good to go.
Exactly. And I like the time blocks where I have room to move within them.
Me
So I
too.
know what I need to get done in this time block, but I like to kind of change the order sometimes. And that, for whatever reason, keeps me from being bored. It allows me to sort of flow and tune into my intuition of what feels like I need to prioritize right now. As
Yes.
long
I
as I
was
get
going to
all
say
that,
what you're feeling, because you
yeah.
can't force yourself to feel a certain way. This is when I have to write my blog post. Well, it might not work.
That's right. Some people do it that way, but I need a little room to move in there. But I do enjoy working. Some people don't have the luxury to work that much. Some people don't enjoy working that much. But for me, it's very actually fulfilling for my soul. This is joyful work for me and gives me energy, which is very different than working in a workplace for someone else or as something that isn't your soul's work. And then it is not joyful and it is draining. There's a huge difference. So the amount of time I work doesn't matter to me. It's how fulfilling the work actually is to me.
Yes, yes, definitely. Oh, good. Well, I was going to say, why don't you share your website with us and all that information, but I already put that out there. But of course, you're more than welcome to share it again if you'd like.
That's so cute. Well, one thing I would love to tell people is that I do actually have a free podcast, which is called Legally Enlightened, which you can find on my website at lisafraley.com/podcast or on iTunes or Stitcher. And the reason why I love to share that with you is because they're 20 minutes or less, little segments of legal love bites, I call them, where you can learn about a topic like what is an LLC or when should I create an S Corp or how do I use images on social media legally? Things like that so that you can get some quick answers to some of those questions you might have about legal questions without costing anything and taking too much of your time. So I do love that I can share that resource with everyone.
Yeah, perfect. And I will put that in as well, that link, so everybody can just kind of go over to the podcast as well. I appreciate your time and your energy today, joining me. I think this was great. I got a ton out of it. Hopefully our listeners did as well.
Well, thank you so much for having me, Pamela. And any steps that people take legally is so important to protect your business. Just go one step at a time. Don't be overwhelmed. And thank you for the work that you do, helping people to remove those blocks and keep themselves creating really great plans and moving forward. And thank you all out there for listening, for the work that you're doing in the world to make it a better place. So lots of love, or legal love, as I like to say, to everyone. Thank you.
That's perfect. Thanks so much. And I will be back next month, the second Tuesday, and we will share with another guest.